This is dangerous knowledge, and you were never meant to hear it this way. The explosive exhale known as Ki was not designed to intimidate, motivate, or express emotion, and anyone who taught you that version has either been misled or was never trusted with the real function. What you are about to understand is why the old Kendo masters treated breath as a weapon, and why modern training systems quietly removed it from serious instruction. You have been striking with a locked engine, firing muscle without igniting the nervous system that multiplies force, and every punch, cut, or movement you've ever executed has been capped by one hidden error. You exhale like a civilian, not like a combat organism under threat. I am telling you directly, your lungs are sabotaging your power. I have spent years connecting laboratory data with suppressed Marshall protocols, and Kiai Breath sits at the intersection of neuroscience, spinal mechanics, and primal survival circuitry. This is not a technique you try. It is a switch that, once flipped, changes how your body discharges force forever. The reason it sounds forbidden is because it is. An uncontrolled explosive exhale triggers neural cascades that most people cannot regulate, which is why it was never mass taught. Samurai culture encoded it into ritual and sound to hide its mechanics in plain sight, while modern science only recently rediscovered fragments of its effect under different names. You feel limited because you are limited, not by strength, not by speed, but by timing. Your nervous system fires in pieces instead of as a single unified blast. Ki was the synchronization key. When executed correctly, the exhale does not release air. It releases inhibition. It strips away braking signals in the brainstem, spikes intra-abdominal pressure like a compressed spring, and allows force to travel unbroken from the ground through the spine into the point of impact. That is why this breath was always taught with warning, with secrecy, with fear. You are stepping into something that alters how your body responds under pressure. And once you feel what a true Ki exhale does to your strike, your balance, your presence, you will understand why this knowledge was buried rather than celebrated. This is the line between training hard and becoming dangerous. Right now, you are operating inside a narrow cage, and you can feel it even if you cannot name it. You train, you condition, you repeat techniques, yet something never fully connects at the moment of impact. Your strikes land, but they do not detonate. That is not a problem of muscle. It is a problem of discharge. Modern breathing habits keep you in a semi-inhibited state, where your nervous system constantly applies the brakes, fragmenting power into isolated muscle contractions instead of one coordinated release. Every time you strike, while softly exhaling, holding your breath, or breathing naturally, your spine loses rigidity at the exact moment it should become a steel rod, and force leaks away through micro-collapses in posture you cannot consciously detect. This is why so many fighters feel strong in drills, but strangely weak under pressure. Stress accelerates breathing. Rapid inhalations flood the system with oxygen without control. Carbon dioxide drops, and the brain interprets this as instability, not readiness. The result is hesitation at the neural level, a millisecond delay that robs you of violence and authority. You have been taught to stay relaxed, but relaxation without structure is collapse. Ki breath exists because relaxation alone cannot survive impact. Without an explosive exhale, the diaphragm fails to lock downward. Intra-abdominal pressure never peaks, and the pelvis cannot transmit ground force upward efficiently. The strike becomes an arm action instead of a full body event. This limitation extends beyond combat. You feel it when you speak under pressure, when your voice thins, when your posture softens, when your presence shrinks in confrontational moments. Breath is the hidden governor on all of it. Ancient Kendo understood that a warrior who cannot control exhalation cannot control timing, and without timing, strength is irrelevant. This is why most modern practitioners plateau no matter how much they train. They are adding horsepower to an engine that cannot transfer torque to the wheels. Kiai is the missing transmission. Until you install it, you will continue to mistake effort for power and volume for force. The danger is not that you are weak. The danger is that you think this is your limit. Here is the mechanism they never explain to you, because once you understand it, you can no longer be controlled by superficial training. The explosive Kiai exhale works because it hijacks a primitive neurological pathway that bypasses conscious inhibition and forces the body into a unified discharge state. At the center of this is the brainstem, not the cortex. When you perform a sharp, forceful exhale against resistance, pressure spikes instantly inside the thoracic and abdominal cavities. And this pressure does not just stabilize the spine, it sends a powerful afferent signal through the vagus nerve and adjacent mechanoreceptors straight into the nucleus tractus solitarius. This region governs threat response, motor urgency, and the release of braking signals that normally keep human movement polite and inefficient. In laboratory terms, you are temporarily suppressing inhibitory interneurons that stagger motor unit firing. In ancient terms, you are waking the animal. The diaphragm snaps downward and rebounds upward like a piston, creating a pressure wave that locks the ribcage, pelvis, and lumbar spine into a single mechanical column. At the same time, the forced exhale increases carbon dioxide briefly, which paradoxically enhances neural firing efficiency and oxygen release at the tissue level through the Bohr effect. This is why the body feels heavier, denser, and faster all at once. Motor units that normally fire in sequence suddenly fire together. Force no longer leaks. It arrives as a single event. This is also why the sound matters. The vocal cords partially close during a true Kiai, increasing airway resistance and amplifying intrathoracic pressure. That sound is not expression. It is compression made audible. Modern science calls this motor unit synchronization and feed-forward stabilization. The samurai called it spirit cutting through flesh. Different language, same mechanism. When the nervous system detects a sudden, controlled exhale under load, it interprets the moment as a survival action, not a skill execution. Reaction time drops. Fear circuits dampen. The body commits fully. This is why your strike feels heavier without feeling slower. You are no longer asking permission from your own nervous system. You are issuing a command it cannot refuse. This is not mystical, but it is ruthless. And once you trigger this pathway correctly, your body remembers it. That memory is what they were afraid of you accessing. To understand why Kiai was disguised as a shout, you have to understand how dangerous silent mastery would have been. In its original form, Kiai was not taught as sound first, but as pressure first. The voice was added later as a safety valve, a way to prevent internal overcompression in students who lacked control. Samurai transmission was never about aesthetics. It was about survival without self-destruction. When you drive an explosive exhale without a release pathway, pressure rebounds upward into the skull, overstimulating the sympathetic system and destabilizing vision, balance, and judgment. That is why the sound exists. It vents excess pressure while preserving the spinal lock. What modern practitioners miss is that the sound is the residue, not the source. Kendo encoded Kiai into ritual so it could be practiced publicly without revealing its inner mechanics. Outsiders saw yelling. Insiders felt internal collapse turn into internal armor. This is why old texts describe Kiai as cutting before the blade arrives. The breath initiates the strike neurologically before the weapon moves physically. Modern labs now observe the same phenomenon in forced expiration studies, where rapid exhalation against resistance produces a pre-movement spike in corticospinal excitability. The body commits before thought can interfere. This was priceless knowledge in an era where hesitation meant death, and it remains potent now because the human nervous system has not changed. What changed is context. Today, breath is taught for calm, for health, for softness. Kiai breath was never meant to soothe you. It was meant to sharpen you. That is why it was separated from meditation and reserved for combat. Mixing the two without understanding creates confusion, weakness, and injury. The old masters knew this and hid the protocol behind culture, sound, and hierarchy. You were allowed to imitate the noise, not access the engine. This part matters because if you chase volume instead of pressure, you will fail. Loud kiai without internal compression is theater. Silent compression without release is dangerous. The true method sits between those extremes, precise, controlled, and deliberately explosive. This is where myth ends and protocol begins. Now you receive the protocol, and you need to understand this clearly before you attempt it. Small errors here do not reduce effectiveness, they invert it. Begin with posture, because breath without structure is wasted force. Your feet root into the ground as if pressure is already traveling upward. Knees unlocked but loaded, pelvis neutral and heavy, spine tall without stiffness. The jaw is gently set, not clenched, teeth separated just enough to allow sound to pass, tongue pressed lightly to the upper palate to create internal continuity from skull to core. This matters more than you think. Your inhale is short, silent, and nasal, drawn not into the chest, but into the lower abdomen, as if filling a sealed chamber. You do not inflate, you preload. The pelvic floor subtly lifts at the end of the inhale, sealing the bottom of the system, while the ribcage remains down and contained. This is the moment most people fail because they rush. The exhale does not start from the mouth, it starts from the center. The diaphragm drives upward explosively, while the abdominal wall resists, creating instant pressure. Only after that pressure peaks do you allow air to escape. The sound emerges naturally, sharp, short, and percussive, never long, never screamed. Think of striking flint, not blowing out candles. The timing is brutal in its precision. The peak of the exhale must coincide exactly with the moment of impact or movement initiation. Early exhale bleeds power. Late exhale fractures timing. Done correctly, you will feel the body lock for a fraction of a second, as if gravity increased, then release into motion with unnatural efficiency. Your eyes remain open and relaxed. Your neck free, your shoulders heavy. If your face contorts or your throat burns, you're forcing sound instead of pressure. If your voice cracks, your airway collapsed too early. This breath should feel violent internally and calm externally. Practice begins with isolated strikes or cuts at 50% speed, focusing only on synchronization, never volume. 5 perfect repetitions outweigh 50 sloppy ones. Stop immediately if you feel dizziness, facial pressure, or ringing. Those are signs of misdirected compression. This protocol rewards restraint and punishes ego. Mastery comes when the kiai feels inevitable, not performed. The transformation does not arrive slowly, and that is what unsettles most people. The first change happens immediately, within a single correct session, and it is unmistakable. Your strikes feel heavier without extra effort. Your balance becomes stubbornly stable, and there is a strange silence in your head during execution, as if background noise has been cut. This is your nervous system recognizing a new discharge pattern. Within the first 3 to 5 days of disciplined practice, something deeper locks in. Reaction time shortens because the brain no longer debates initiation. The explosive exhale trains feed-forward control, meaning your body prepares for force before conscious thought interferes. You will notice that fear responses dull under pressure, not because you are calmer, but because the body interprets action as already decided. Around day 7 to 10, posture changes without effort. The spine begins to default to a stacked, load-bearing alignment because intra-abdominal pressure patterns are now familiar, not forced. This is where many people overtrain and make mistakes. The system adapts quickly, but connective tissues and neural timing need recovery to consolidate. 2 to 3 short sessions per day outperform long, aggressive ones. By week 3, the change becomes measurable. Striking force increases not through muscle growth, but through improved force transfer, often registering double-digit percentage gains in impact sensors and partner feedback. Voice projection strengthens. Presence sharpens. You take up more space without trying. Internally, the vagal response becomes more flexible, allowing rapid shifts between explosive output and baseline calm. This is the mark of real control. After 4 to 6 weeks, the breath no longer feels like a technique. It emerges automatically at moments of commitment, whether physical or verbal. At this stage, the nervous system has rewritten its default under stress. You are no longer managing fear. You are outrunning it. This is also the point of no return. Once the body learns how to unify force through breath, going back to passive exhalation feels like deliberate self-sabotage. The danger now is not injury, but misuse. Power without restraint invites escalation. That is why the old systems paired this breath with discipline, not freedom. You are becoming more effective, not just stronger. And effectiveness carries responsibility. If you feel this shift happening, you are on schedule. If you feel nothing, you are doing it wrong. This is where I stop teaching and start testing you. The Kiai breath is not proven in theory. It is proven under pressure. And if you avoid that moment, you will never truly own it. Your challenge is simple and unforgiving. The next time you strike, cut, push, or confront resistance, you commit fully to the explosive exhale without hesitation or apology. No warm-up theatrics. No gradual build. One decisive action. One synchronized discharge. If you flinch, if you soften the exhale, if you delay the sound, you will feel the difference immediately, and that contrast is the lesson. Once you experience a true Kiai-driven strike, your nervous system will reject weak breathing instinctively. You will feel almost offended by softness at the moment of commitment. This is why I warned you at the beginning. This protocol rewires how you respond to challenge, not just in training, but in life. Your voice will change under stress. Your posture will assert itself before you consciously choose it. People will feel your decisions land harder, even when you say very little. That is not dominance. That is coherence. The danger is that you cannot selectively apply this once it is integrated. You either commit or you don't, and half measures will feel intolerable. This is why ancient systems demanded character before access. Breath like this amplifies intent, whatever that intent is. If your mind is scattered, your power will be reckless. If your intent is clear, your presence becomes undeniable. I have given you the missing transmission, not a toy. Use it sparingly. Use it deliberately. And never forget that the moment you choose to engage this breath, you are telling your nervous system there is no retreat. That is the true meaning of Kiai, not a shout, a declaration.